Welcome back to the Slipstream. This morning I thought I would start off with oracle cards. These are not tarot. This is the oracle of the archetypes, which I love. And it sort of relates to tarot in that tarot deals a lot with archetypal energy. And so does this deck. So right away it's kind of, taking a look into the story that we all identify with. Willy-nilly. While we're struggling in whatever our daily life brings us, there's this parallel archetypal thing that is both revealed in the daily life and informed by the day. So it's this interface between the two, between the daily and the transcendent. The metaphysical, the beyond the physical, but inclusive of it. And vice versa, those two energies really need each other, and that's come up again and again in these readings, and that's no surprise. So here we go, and this, I'm going to read the definitions out of the book. Some of them I kind of know by heart, and some of them I'm still exploring. And I just wanted to say I'm working on a couple of technical things just to get that kind of housekeeping thing out of the way. I'm getting a microphone because I've heard it's hard to hear me. I don't talk very loudly unless I'm pissed, in which case I'm like, shatter you with sound waves. But hi, Rue. Yeah, she's just looking out the window. So hopefully that'll, literally clear it up a little bit. It means wearing a lapel thing, and for some reason I'm resisting that, but hey. Okay, here we go with the archetype cards. For starters, I'm just going to pull one to set the tone so it doesn't get too complicated. Ooh, I like this one. It's the thread. What connects you to other people, to the divine, to your own innermost self. And there's that rainbow thing that this thread is connecting to, but not quite. It stops a little bit short. But, somebody's hanging on. It can also be like, energetic cords that tie us to something, but it doesn't look like it's a bad something. It looks, in fact, like out of this dark place, it connects us to this sort of full spectrum light. The full spectrum. That's a wonderful place to start. And I'm going to read because, my intuitive sense of this may or may not be borne out in the text. And I'm not saying the text is more important than the intuitive thing, on my part or on your part. And it's rather along the way in this archetypal energy. It's very close to the section called the initiations. This is a section called I'm sorry, it's just taking me a minute to get there. And I think it's sort of important to see what they think they're talking about. The tools. The tools. So maybe we perceive the thread as a kind of tool. A way to connect. Now I have to get back to cut this. A pain in the butt. I'm sorry. I should have page marked this, but see, I didn't know until I drew it. Okay. Here we go. Life is a tangle. So much happens simultaneously and circuitously, leaving us grappling for meaning and direction in a network of distractions. When we connect to the energy of the thread, however, we strike the deepest vein in the body. Our whole being responds to its tug. Meaning is pumped through our bloodstream. Our mind and spirits are lifted. We remember who we are and what we came into this world to do. Though this happens on the most profound level, it could be the simplest incident that activates the thread, a song, an image, a conversation heard in passing. No matter how confusing and multi-layered our modern lives become, if we are connected to the thread, we are free. Being tethered to it is the only anchor our heart requires. And then it looks at the light and the dark side. When light, this energy, the circuit of meaning within chaos. When dark, binding, frustrating, taut. Go deeper, the sculptures of Eva Hesse. And it's the path, the vein, the circuit. We've talked about circuitry before, so I think that's sort of interesting. You may think you have to find the thread and pull it. Imagine, though, that it is already tied around you, waiting for you to follow it home. It reminds me a bit of Ariadne's thread. You know, she went into the labyrinth and had a thread that will show her the path back out. But as it changed, I mean, you don't enter the labyrinth and come out as the same person that went in. You know, you're going to your center in some very fundamental way. If we are connected to the thread, we are free. That's an interesting sort of phenomenon, that the connection doesn't tie you, it frees you. It frees you because you're somehow hanging on to the thing like the wire that connects you. To the fundamental thing, the only anchor our heart requires. And you don't even need to identify it. You're already, you know, there's no need to question, where is it? Where is it? It's in your hand. It's right in your hand. It's in your hand. And the other thing I was sort of drawn to talk about was, because we're on the cusp of spring, you know, it's all happening very soon, and we can already feel it, you know, we're on the cusp. And, you know, I find a lot of metaphors in the garden. I have a garden. The times in my life I've done it for a living, you know, enough to get by living, and felt so happy to be paid at all for the work of, I mean, I find it, you know, I'm sorry, I keep itching my ear, and this is sort of like, can I hear it? Can I hear it? In the garden, I find that thread, that sacred connection that liberates me and grounds me both. And you know, at this time of year, the garden is dormant. You know, if you look out my window into my garden, it looks like everything's dead. You know, everything's gone dormant. All the plants have withdrawn their energy into their root system during the winter. They can't be up there, not in this neck of the woods. So, you know, it involves a certain faith to understand that there's growth, you know, to trust in the growth, even when it's apparently not there, in ourselves or in our environment. Because there's an interface between the two. And I feel it all the time. Like when I got sick at one point and I couldn't tend the garden for like 3 years. And it apparently just went wild in the bush. You know, you couldn't see. Occasional thing would pop up, like a rare foxglove or something would rear its head, but mostly it just looked spent. Except for I have a lot of oregano that attracts the bees big time. So it was alive, it was a buzz. But, you know, I felt like I was that blasted garden, that thing that would not come back to life. And, you know, slowly but surely, I got well enough to work in the garden a little bit, a little at a time. Not like a maniac like I did a couple of decades ago. You know, I'd labor in the garden. And now it's more like I feel so blessed to be able to even get outside and have enough balance to, you know, reach up and do stuff and bend down and get back up again. You know, that disability has come back. And we have to trust that it will come back, and not before it's ready. I mean, you know, you can't pull the bud apart. You can't force the bloom. There's really an element of waiting. And then once the garden springs into action, you know, and you have to do the prep work. I mean, it's a complicated question of timing. And I'm going to do the rest, most of it, in the traditional Rider-Waite, just for clarity, because we've drawn this archetypal energy card. We'll see if the archetypes come out here, or the daily life business of getting into the garden and doing the labor. Not as a chore, but like, there's a saying, you know, one's nearer God's heart in the garden than anywhere else on earth. That thing in the archetype that said, if you're connected by the thread, your heart has everything it needs. The connection is already in your hand. So let's see. And I may try to flip the board around at the end, which will mean, you know, having to adjust the camera and sort of, I haven't got that part of the technology worked out yet. It's still a kind of labor. Lovely way to start. Ace of Swords. The enlightenment. The new beginning based on something communicated to you or offered to you. And it's here. It's the you know, hand reaching out of the cloud. You know, it's an understanding or an opportunity, and it might not come directly through a personal relationship. It might, but if it did, you know, something has changed, something is new in the realm of communication or understanding. It's air energy, Ace of Swords, and it's a beginning. It's an opportunity for that. And I can't help but see, as I look down, and this stuff matters. You know, tarot is a visual thing as much as a meaning kind of thing. See how the sword is in hand? See how the thread is in hand? So it may be communication to and from this divine, hand out of the cloud. It's coming out of the cloud. And it's in your hand. It's already in your hand. And boy, I have to say, my vertigo is really kicking in today. And that may mean I just have to go back and do my PT exercises, which I've been lax. I need to get back to that kind of labor, which I don't like very much, even though it really bears fruit. It makes a difference. Why do we resist doing work that makes a difference? And it's often gets worse before it gets better. Definitely does with this kind of balance work. You really have to challenge the fear around the imbalance, the spin, the disequilibrium. Oh wow, Queen of Swords. And I've often described this as an energy of, setting down a boundary, telling a truth, even if it's, she's willing to cut things off and so forth. But if this is the thing we hang on to, it's really not about that in this case. Because she's holding the sword, right? She's holding the sword. It's come in from beyond, and she's picked it up. She's not cutting the cord. She's not cutting the cord. Because it connects her heart to what matters most. Again, air energy. And I have to say it's also true, this queen has a shock-proof shit detector. I think Hemingway said that about what every writer needs, is a shock-proof shit detector. Well, she has it. She doesn't mince words, and she doesn't particularly like, really she won't tolerate untruths, half-truths, bullshit. The new beginning, the archetypal journey, that this is where you set out. Traveling light, with this little hobo sack. And there's a dog, so you're not entirely alone. The dog is sort of nipping at your heels. And I think perhaps, some people say the dog is concerned for you, taking this leap. But I really, in this case, read it as the energy that says, go forward. This kind of animal, intuitive, like herding instinct dog that says, I'm going to push you to the edge, and you're going to leap. And it's a whole new world you leap into. And I think part of this is you're safe to do it. There's something that holds you and will not let you fall. This is also like a ripcord, sort of, I'm saying. And there's a wonderful Rilke quote, life holds you in its hands. It will not let you fall. It will not let you fall. It may really feel like you're falling, but you're sort of free falling. You're free falling. Emphasis on free. Hierophant. Boy, we're getting some repeats here. This fellow, he, she, they, inner, outer, teacher, wise one. keeps reappearing, rearing its head. And it's also a card of discipline, disciple, but in the sense of, maybe free-falling, but there's a degree of both protection and, this is a card of great stability. It's Taurus. It's an earth energy. It's a grounded energy. And it's sort of like being watched over by the aspect of the universe, that both pushes you off the edge and is there as well to always catch you. Because you're connected via the thread to your higher power, to the higher power, capital H, higher, capital P power. And part of what connects you is this, both willingness to see things clearly and do something about it, and communicate. And while this is sort of a card of control in a way, can be, this is not a card of control per se, except that you're walking up to the cliff edge and something is push you right over, and it's a good thing. You have the ripcord or the bungee cord. It's something that keeps you from hitting. If this guy's jumping off a cliff, this is the thing that softens the fall, maybe. Oh, wow, we have 4. That's a lot. I'm going to take them anyway. And they're a little bit contradictory. You have High Priestess, this intuitive knowing. I see what can't be seen. I hear what can't be heard. Because I'm that in tune. I'm connected. She has the thread. And I think she also knows some people don't. And it can't be taught. Except by tapping into your own intuitive, by inhabiting this energy, High Priestess energy. I'm like the seer. I reconcile opposites. I'm moon energy. She's got the crescent moon there. And look at her ears. They're like, I'm trying to remember the name, satellite dishes. People used to have outside their houses, were these big scoops, or we have things that monitor sounds in the universe that our human ears can't hear, and we're listening for messages, radio signals from away. And that's what she does. She's like a satellite dish. She's very willing to hear it, but not necessarily willing to do this. Willing to do this. And it's sort of like grow your own cord. You got to grow your own connection. You're already connected. But you have to be willing to, open that line of communication. So, and that falls next to Hierophant. Both very powerful cards. Both major arcana. 3 out of 5 here are major arcana. And here comes minor arcana. And a page energy at that. a young energy, a proposition, a message of some kind. You know, to do with love. Can be an apology. Maybe an apology because you cut somebody off. You called bullshit on something and you walked away into this new, you know, I'm going to begin. And I can't really wait. The dog is nipping at my heels. I am ready. Ready or not. Here I go. You know, it's like being on the diving board. It's that moment before you do the swan dive with trust. And if that's the case, this is a very small, you know, if you're landing, it gives me the image of the person, you know, in the circus acts where you dive off the high platform into the little, water, you know. This is like diving into a little cup. Which would take trust. But this is also the energy of the garden. You know, this is have some faith. Have some faith. Because that's really another meaning of Hierophant, is to have faith. You know, and to listen for that intuitive thing that, you know, listen for the teaching. You know, and be willing to go in this page energy. You know, this is like the bulb underneath the ground. You just see zilch until finally a little bit of green peeks through. A little green. And again, here's the same page energy and earth energy. This is the plantable seed. This is the potential for growth. And again, it's the new growth. It's the thing, you know, it's the garden reviving. And the first sign is a little sign. But it indicates there's more to come. There's more to come. And then bugger, you know, 5 of Swords. Indicates a past strife. Almost like this card seems to me to speak sometimes of like a post-traumatic stress. Because it's mental energy, but something you've been through has put your nervous system in a place of, because this has been a battle, and this is after the battle. There's a victor and there are losers, at least the appearance of that. That's the idea, that there can even be victors and losers. So if this has happened to you, and you're in a place of like, still healing from this, or needing to heal from this, needing that healing card, 4 of Swords, because you know, you've been through it. And the healing comes like a little at a time. But it comes. And I said, like, we're on the verge of spring. This is the sign of life. With more to come. It's the promise of growing things. Pentacles energy. It's the promise of growth. Okay, we need one more on that 5 because... Can you tell us anything about the nature of this battle? The reason why we're in post-traumatic stress? Spirit, please talk to us. Talk to us. Ace of Swords us. Queen of Swords us. We're hearing. We're attending. We have those big discs on our ears, right? Okay. 2 of Wands. Where am I going? Where are we taking this? It's like somehow your decision, because 2 of Wands is a decision. You know, do I embark? And it's in Wands energy, which is growth. You can see this, the Wands here are spudding, or budding. It's a cross between sprouting and budding, spudding. And it looks to me like a decision has been made to go forward. It's saying yes to something. And to go forward after this traumatic thing. A creative life force, I'm gonna do it, energy. I'm on the verge. They haven't yet stepped through the portal, but they know they're going to. They have the globe. They've figured out some kind of path forward. And they're on the verge. Just like that sprout coming up. Where did we have that? Well, the page energy, which is, it's like sprout energy. You know, it's not a full-on delphinium going boom in your garden. Not yet. Emperor. This is really taking control. And not in a kind of, I don't think in a kind of bossing other people around kind of way. Because there's so many, there's a sense here of like intuitive, you know, I've heard the call. I'm going to take the leap of faith. And it's not, it may be risky, but I have this core sense of, I know who I am. You know, I can do this. Emperor's a card of real stability. All 4s, you know, speak to stability, sometimes too much stability. But this is stability combined with, you know, the willingness to take the risk, to be pushed to the edge and over. And it's sort of almost like to assume this position of personal power in that same fire energy as the Fool. I think they're both Aries energy, both the Emperor and the Fool. That's fire energy. Aries, Leo, Sag. And it just means like purposeful, directed, you know, having a direction. And it's both the ability to be on that verge and be stable at the same time. And I think it's by virtue, I mean, it's by virtue of this connection to the core of you. You hold life in your hands. It holds you in its hands. There's a connection that's inseparable. You know, whatever she cuts out, he, she, they, she cuts it out with clarity, and it's a clean cut. You know, the Queen of Swords doesn't snip away at something. She doesn't mince words. I wish I hadn't looked. This is the card of loss, of thinking you're lost, of thinking these cups are lost and spilt and gone forever. But you're in a time of sadness, post-traumatic stress. They're both 5 cards, right? Which indicates a need for change. It's already underway. But something, you know, something kind of held you up in sadness. And you're freeing yourself from that. You're freeing yourself. Without severing what's essential to your heart and to your connection to other people and to this higher power. And the higher power is yours, your higher power, but it's also, as I said before, capital H, capital P, you know. It's an archetypal energy. It's sort of all of ours. And we need to hang on to that. Take the leap. You know, there's no loss and there's no trauma that can't be healed. It takes courage. It takes courage. And you've got it. Because of this. Because of this. And you know it. You know it. Part of you just knows this already. I'm kind of preaching to the choir, as it were. Thank you, guys. Slipstream. Till next time. Please like and subscribe if you're so inclined. No demands here. Nobody's going to cut you off if you don't do it. There's no cutting off, really. There's no cutting.